Hey there everyone, Pally here, and welcome back. It's time for some more World of Warships, and today I have an Atlanta replay for you. This is one of two Atlanta replays. There'll be another one coming up, in which I'm trying to get a feel for this ship. This is a big contender of a ship I'm going to be using in the upcoming competitive season, and I think it could work fairly well. My intuition is still leaning towards the Belfast being the better cruiser to be taking into this. The Belfast, Fuji, and Miyoko, I think, are all probably a little more all-purpose than the Atlanta, but I definitely wanted to give it a real try, as my previous experiences with the Atlanta were not great. I did not overly like this ship. This is just going to be gameplay if you're looking for the stats, port overview of the ship, talking about commander skills, loadouts, all of that. Check the description down below for a video just focusing on the ship in port. So, like I said, this generally isn't a ship I really liked, and that's because it doesn't fit my normal playstyle. I've talked many times briefly about my playstyle, but let's break it down. I tend to play one of two ways. Either I'm a destroyer or a battleship pushing the front lines, even a cruiser that has some survivability, either concealment or a smokescreen, really pushing, being aggressive, getting up there to steal the caps, get the caps, take the fight to the enemy. Or I tend to watch the flank. I watch when the Zerg goes one way, I watch the backside of the Zerg to make sure we don't get run over from behind, so our slow battleships don't get picked off one at a time while everybody else is rushing ahead. And initially I start out here, and I began heading towards east, gonna do this. Then it occurred to me, wait, I'm in an Atlanta. You do not play that game style with an Atlanta. It's just not designed for it. It can't do it. It doesn't have the survivability. The Atlanta needs to be played from the second tier. You need to have at least one or two targets in front of you that are better targets of opportunity for the enemy. If you're the number one target of opportunity, you're probably going to get deleted very quickly in the Atlanta. It just doesn't have that durability. So once I see everyone except for possibly one cruiser, that cruiser might also just not have loaded, and what looks like one battleship, but the other battleship's coming. Once I see everyone else is going east, I turn and I start cutting back east. And I don't like doing this. Like, in my mind, I'm like, damn it, we are just giving up A. We're not even going to contest A, but it doesn't matter. If I sailed out there towards A and there's one battleship, one cruiser, unless they're really bad, I'm dead, and I'm not going to have done any good for my team. So we're going to come on back, and we're going to play that secondary role. We're going to play that long-range artillery platform. Not long-range. We're going to play 13-kilometer range. We're going to stay at our maximum-ish range and just try and engage targets of opportunity while not being the primary target of opportunity for the other targets. I am going to say, so this... obviously, I'm going to say, this was one of, if not the first or second back after the 0.6.0 update, and I had not played this ship in forever. I just didn't really like it the first time I played it. I preferred the higher caliber ships because of that. Mainly because I never felt like I could hit targets. I wasn't very good at the shell trajectory, the velocity. If you look here, we're aiming after that Bodoni. When I'm zoomed in, I'm aiming 12, 13, 14 seconds in front of the target. This is part of why I missed that Genevni. I was more watching, just trying to decide if my shells were on target, if I was putting my salvos out correctly, and they're just in the air for so bloody long. In fact, you'll notice I used the dynamic crosshair, and I actually zoomed out, so we're aiming 15 seconds in front of that Bodoni. I have upwards of 4 salvos in the air at any one time. Well, the first salvo's hitting just as the fourth one is going up. It's ridiculous how long these shells are up there. We do eventually, though, range in that Bodoni. We figure out that basically 15 and a half seconds at this range is where we need to be aiming for him with where he's going, and we'll go ahead and put some shells on him. I am playing poorly here, though. I don't know what to say poorly. I'm not prioritizing. As an Atlanta, I really should be shooting at those two Genevnis that were out there. Once this Bodoni does go down, though, we do end up reprioritizing our targets and moving over. Let's talk a little bit about the Atlanta's range, because this is going to be something that a lot of the more experienced players may disagree with me on. So I went with advanced fire and training for my tier 4 captain skill. That's why I have the 13.3, 13.2 kilometer range. By default, this thing only has an 11.1 kilometer range. And that is part of the reason why my shells are in the air as long as they are. If I was aiming at 11.1 kilometers, the trajectory, the flight time would be more like 11 seconds. It's about a kilometer a second that they're going. We do obviously see the smoke screen here, and if you watched, once I did see the smoke screen, I did activate my hydroacoustic, and I just started steaming right towards it. Now, I didn't need to worry. The Genevni, they don't have the range for their torpedoes, so I was never actually in torpedo danger, but it was something that I did as soon as I saw the smoke screen, just in case their Mutasuki or whatever was over here also. Now, this Genevni, he's in for a bad time. In Atlanta at 5 kilometers, there's not much he's going to be able to do. There's just too much firepower coming out of this. And we do, as soon as we see him, we do see another Genevni. Now, some people, normally I would rush that Genevni. That would be my next target. However, it's in Atlanta, yet again. If I would go after that Genevni, my hydroacoustic's about to wear off, I would need to be basically straight into him to avoid being torpedoed. They are short range, but it would just be something we would have to do. We do have friendly torpedoes going by in front of this. I don't know what this was. This must have been the Molotov shooting at that Genevni. Boy, that Molotov nearly had a team kill on that friendly T-22. Luckily, yeah. Anyway, so rather than go after the Genevni, because what that would do is that would put me out in front, and if we look down there, we have obviously this New York here. It put me broadside to the New York. There's also a Fuso and a Shores. The Shores has 180mm guns. They're not insignificant. While they're not quite as dangerous as, say, a Pensacola shooting at me, they're not insignificant. So we just don't want to do that. It's better to come back, keep this large island here, protect my flank so I can only be seen by one ship at a time, can only be engaged by that New York, and now I can just really lay the damage onto him. Actually, damage might be the wrong thing to say. Let's actually take a look at what we're doing. Right now, 32 rounds on him, 16 bounces. Up top there, we have 53 rounds on target. So we're just under 100 rounds on target at this point. 100 rounds on target is quite a few. That's, you know, if you're playing a heavy cruiser, at least lower tier 7 heavy cruiser or whatever, you'll probably come out of most rounds with 60, 70 rounds on target. So this amount of rounds on target to only have 49,000 damage is actually really low. But this is kind of how the Atlanta plays. Your actual DPS, it seems higher than it is. You just don't do much damage with your guns. The reason I'm bringing this up is it's more for if you're playing against an Atlanta. It goes against a lot of your common traits, common learned principles from playing the earlier part of the game. Generally, when something is firing at you with this amount of firepower, this rate of fire, your instincts are to turn away, get behind cover, do something to avoid it. With the Atlanta, it's often best just to charge it. That damage, the actual output being done to you by the Atlanta, isn't all that much. If you close range, get within 8 kilometers of him, and just unload on an Atlanta, in almost every circumstances, most cruisers, most all battleships are going to beat the Atlanta at that range. It doesn't do the damage that it seems to. But you have to overcome this like psychological barrier of all these shells coming in at you, and it's a little weird to do. It does take some time. The Atlanta is really about just long time damage over time. Even your chance of setting fires isn't all that great. You notice, again, we're up to 139, 140 rounds on target at this point, only set 7 fires. It's pretty darn low. It's 6%, as you would expect. It's just a lot to keep in mind. The Atlanta can be deceiving. You can think it's doing a lot more damage than it is. Oh, let's get back to what I was originally talking about. So the 13.3 kilometer range, you can see here, I'm actually shooting right at the max boundary of that. A lot of players, because your projectiles are flying for 14 seconds at that point, they make the argument, and it's very much true, that you're pretty much ineffective at that range most of the time. You're going to have a tough time hitting targets, and they're not wrong. And a lot of them would make the case that HEAP, the inertia fuse for high explosive, would be a better choice. Concealment would be a better choice. Possibly even radio position locating, RPF, would possibly be a better choice than all of these. And I see where they're coming from, and in many circumstances, I don't disagree. Here's what I have found. If I had HEAP, maybe every salvo would do, on average, another 20% more damage. Maybe even, probably not even that, 15% more damage. The extra range I get from advanced firing training and the fact that I can stand off from battleships another 2 kilometers and still engage them, for me, I find that allows me to live much longer in battles. in some of these fights, like just before with the New York, if I had to have close to 11 kilometers to fight him, his dispersion gets 2-3 kilometers worth better. I probably, rather than being at 60% health, I'm at 40 or 50% health. So I will take a reduction in 15% less damage per salvo, but be able to stay in the fight till the end of the match a lot more often. I find that I do overall more damage because of it. Ideally you have a 14-point captain. You get both the 13-kilometer range plus the HAP. That is ideally what we want. We do see the Mutasuki there, so we're going to turn in. What I want to do is I just want to close the distance a little bit with the Mutasuki, make sure that he's within my radar range. I didn't catch his distance from me when I first had it, so there we go. Now we're within that range, but fire it up, get back out broadside. He is reversing. We can get 2 good salvos off. Unfortunately, I don't know what the Kirov's doing here. Kirov's guns appear to be looking that way. Oh, he's looking over at the... He's looking at the Genevny, not the Genevny, the Gneisenau over in the cap. And because if we'd had him, this Mutasuki would have gone down really fast. Instead, it's just me and the T-22 destroyer shooting at him, and he does get away before I managed to finish him off. Gneisenau coming in, he's turning broadside. We do have a pretty good chance here to unload on him. We do have to be a little cautious. His secondaries will screw us up. They're big enough that they will hurt quite a bit, but his primary guns, we can see, are actually looking the other way. He's swinging them, but they're not all the way around yet. Also, the Kirov's a little bit closer. Unfortunately, now the Kirov's on the other side of the island. We're behind the island, and we come around. In terms of score, our team was just too slow to get on the caps. Right there, we're now down 3 caps. They came back around. There was no point where we were up the cap advantage, and then we're going to have ships like the Kirov and the upcoming New York just kind of throw themselves away. Before that happens, though, the Mutasuki is going to come out here. We're going to get a chance to look at it, and set it off. I do consider my torpedoes there for a second. If the Gneisenau was going to sail around 4.5 kilometer range, we were a little too far out. Also, that Kirov was just in a bad spot. There's the Mutasuki. We can put some more salvo out. And this is, again, it's very much he's maneuvering, he's adjusting, but you throw enough shit, some of it's going to stick against the wall. There we go. We catch the Mutasuki as he's coming out of the turn. We do take the shores. Atlanta, generally, I say hold your repair party. Hold it till you know you're out of trouble. The Atlanta, due to its low HP, you almost have to play it like a destroyer and be a little more proactive with it. Normally, I would not have popped it quite as fast as I did there. Right there is the New York getting deleted. We already saw the Kirov get deleted. Whoop, little glitch in the video footage. I do right now, we know the Gneisenau is right there. So right here, I do make a mistake of sorts. It's not a mistake, I underestimate the target. So we can see the Gneisenau coming out. The T-22 is within detectability range right there. I expect the Gneisenau to focus on the T-22. I really think that is going to be who he shoots at. Instead, because he's turning to dodge the T-22's torpedoes, I end up in front of his guns, and I too take a pretty tough volley there that really put me down a lot. Also, that Gneisenau, we have to worry now. If he's running Adrenaline Rush, which there's a fairly good chance he is, he's down to probably about a 16-second reload on those guns with that amount of HP. So he's going to be firing again here real soon. So I'm turning to aim away, put a little bit more distance between me and him. Luckily, the T-22 does come up big with another salvo of torpedoes. At this point, we can now turn and fight the Miyoko. Miyoko, bad target to be fighting with in Atlanta. He's got the range advantage. He's going to be more accurate because his projectiles fly much faster. He's got probably about a 20% chance of setting fires, anywhere from 18 to 22, depending on his commander skills and which signal flags he's flying. So he's dangerous, and he's at pretty darn high health compared to me. But we got to fight him. We have no real choice. At this point, we are losing by way too much. We've got to stop this bleeding. We have to take care of this Miyoko. And right there's another pretty good salvo coming in. At this point, my HP is getting low. It's kind of all or nothing. Though, do look at the rate of fire. Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush is real good. These guns, what are they reloading in? Let's see. That one, 3.7 seconds reload time. So that's basic firing training plus Adrenaline Rush coming out. It's kind of scary. There is Confederate. Here comes another salvo of the Miyoko coming in. And this one's going to set 2 fires. We have to burn the damage control party. There's no way around it. We would have burned out without it. Here comes another salvo in from the Miyoko. You can kind of see where this one's going, turn out, and there's another fire. At this point, we're dead. There's nothing we can do about it. We're going to die. Only thing we can do is we can take the Miyoko with us and get a Kraken. And that is what we do. So, there we go. There's basically the end of this. At this point, the Scharnhorst is down. We're going to lose our destroyer to the Fuso over on the other side of the map. If you look over at A, there's a Fuso heading in there. Right there, he's going to take care of the destroyer. And our Scharnhorst is going to move up and die to a full health Colorado. We did what we could. The big takeaways are just, you have to play that secondary role. If you're aggressive, you're going to die in the Atlanta. It doesn't take, you can't be the primary target of more than one ship at a time, and you almost never want to be the primary target of a battleship. Now that's true for pretty much every cruiser, but it's exceptionally painful within an Atlanta. You have the armor of a destroyer, but the size and the citadel of a cruiser, making you a very, very easy target. We don't actually have to watch this finish off. Let's go ahead and we will jump to the post credits. Here we are. So there's some takeaways to be seen here. Obviously, a lot of this is pretty good. 4,267 base experience, or 4,267 experience in a loss is okay. It's pretty darn good. 500,000 credits earned. 112,000 damage. Realistically, for 335 rounds on targets for 13 fires for 5 sunk ships, it's not all that good. Now, it's not all that good because the ship was played poorly. As we discussed in the video, you don't do a lot of damage with these guns. It's just a limiting factor of it. This is going to tie into our base experience when we look at the team score. Obviously, we did get Confederate and Kraken, 2 base captures, or 2 base defends, 1 assisted in capture, 13 fires, all of that stuff right there. Let's look at the team score. So base XP 1422. And that's what I was talking about. Like that base XP for the amount of shells we did for 5 kills, I feel like that should have been closer to 1,800 or 2,000, but it really comes down to how they figure the base XP. If you don't know, essentially what it is it's the percentage damage you did to the ship, not your overall damage. So if you destroy a destroyer from 100% health to 0 health, you get X amount of XP. If you destroy a battleship from 100% to 0, you get the exact same amount of XP. It's the same amount of XP for doing that. If you do 30% damage to a battleship, it's the same as doing 30% damage to a destroyer in terms of XP. Although that actual damage number is much greater on the battleship, right? So, 14,000 damage on a destroyer will basically kill them or will kill them, whereas 14,000 damage on a battleship is 25% of their health, give or take. And since Atlanta's prioritized long range, you're firing at a lot more battleships, doing a lot less damage overall, your base score generally isn't going to be all that great. It's okay. It is what it is. It's not a problem, but the number, it just feels lower than it should be. Detailed report here. Sure. Take a look at that. We did not fire any AP at all. I didn't even fire the torpedoes. We did do 24,000 damage with the fires, which isn't bad. I mean, that's a little under a quarter of what we did overall. So our fires actually were pretty darn effective. More effective than I would have actually thought. Well, not really. Man, I really wish we had the HEAP to see what happens coming from there. And then credits and XP earned. We are running premium, so that is why we do get the 4,000 credit, the 4,000 XP, 12,000 commander score, and 500,000 credits. Yeah, so that's the Atlanta. It's a different ship. It's definitely a different play style. Not really my thing, but it is effective at what it does. Until next time, this has been Paller. Thanks for watching.